It's been a while since there's been a new episode of Disney's new DuckTales series, but that doesn't mean there isn't anything new for fans to be excited about. In the months since the most recent episode was aired, Disney has put out a new DVD collection, a handful of comic books, and has even been quietly working on a new series of toys and collectible figures. At the time of this recording, however, details on those new toys are kind of scarce. They weren't so much announced as kind of casually spotted, hanging out in the background of blurry photos vaguely associated with the New York ToyFair 2019. That kind of vague, unclear product reveal is actually really common. At ToyFair, thousands of new figures and toys and products are revealed and shown off for the first time. It's easy for something to get lost in all that shuffle. That's partially because the show isn't just for fans, it's also for companies to see the products that are coming so they can help plan out product launches and sales and retail settings. Just like with last year's New York Toy Fair, the DuckTales figures and toys were hidden somewhere in Fat Mojo Toy Company booth and marketing materials, but maybe they weren't on the show floor itself. The folks behind the DuckTalk podcast and their community found an image of a Fat Mojo display embedded in the toy company's website. And if you look carefully, you can see plenty of hints of new characters, new playsets, and more. And that's really exciting, but be forewarned. We're about to look at a bunch of toys that are probably designed to be released after the next batch of episodes, which means they're not just spoilers for the toys themselves, but for the next major storyline of the DuckTales cartoon. So consider this a spoiler warning for both. Bearing that in mind, there's really a lot to take in on this display, including new figures, new playsets, new plush dolls, and more. And before we get to the figures that are actually possible story spoilers, I want to just get to what's personally the most exciting for me, which is more talking collectible little plush figures like this guy. The image shows at least two more new ones incoming: Launchpad McQuack and Donald Duck. And man, that's just perfect. Nailed it! Even better, that's not even the only Launchpad figure in this collection. If you take a careful look at the figures in that display, you can see there's a Launchpad in the outfit he wears at the end of the House of Lucky Gander. You know, the one wearing armor that implies that Launchpad had his own adventure that we didn't see on screen. I don't know if this is just a toy of that moment because it was a funny joke and it's a different costume that might sell as a toy, or if this is implying that we're gonna get an episode to see this Launchpad adventure, this 00 Duck sort of scenario. And if that's the case, that's really exciting, but even if it's not, that's still a pretty cool toy. A few other characters get alternate outfits too. If you look at the bottom row, we can see a Dewey and a Webby wearing hats, and what looks like a Louie and a Huey wearing some kind of different outfit, but I can't really tell what it is. I think Huey's wearing an overcoat, and, well, Louie just looks like Louie to me. There's also a couple of exciting newer characters, including some big buff-looking blue guy in a golden hat, and a 2-pack of figures that I'm just not entirely sure what they are. One looks like a small young duck, kind of like Huey, with hair that flares up. And the other one looks strangely like a young Mark Beeks. I don't know what either of these characters are supposed to be, if it's an alternate Huey, or a whole new character, or something from a time travel episode where we see a younger Mark Beeks. But either way, these are definitely characters we haven't seen on screen yet. The most exciting addition to the toy lineup, however, is something we have seen on screen. It's none other but Huey, Dewey, and Louie's mother herself, Della Duck, and her rocket ship. There isn't a lot of information on these toys either, but there's two of them. A single Della figurine in a blister pack, and a Della rocket vehicle, which seems to include that figure or a variant of it. That gives us a second vehicle in the toy set in addition to Launchpad's plane. And that's really interesting because Launchpad's plane is always very prominently featured in episodes. So that makes us wonder if we're going to see Della's rocket in an episode. Is she going to return from the moon? What's going to happen there? And we're going to see more of her as a character as the series and this particular season goes on, but this is a strong hint that that might be coming sooner than we think, possibly before the end of season 2. If you're somehow not into rocket ships, how would a giant robot do? In addition to everything else, the display confirmed we're getting a Fenton action figure and a Gizmo Duck in a single pack. Gizmo Duck looks huge compared to Fenton in the mock-up, but that's another thing that's important to consider about this, is that they're all kind of mock-ups. We have a look at the packaging, we know what toys are coming, but we don't actually know what a lot of them look like. Most of these seem to be cardboard stand-ins in the final packaging. Still, it's all pretty exciting. And that's not all either. On top of all of those new figures, Funko announced a new addition to its line of classic DuckTales figures. Specifically, a small set that contains a 3-pack, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. At a glance, this box set of triplets is both kind of perfect and kind of the worst. They're essentially all the exact same figure with different paints. And to be fair, that's not all that different from who the boys were on the original show, but it would have been nice if the toys had some different expressions on them or having them in different poses instead of it literally just being a paint job. These are still really cool collectibles for anyone hoping to fill out their Disney Afternoon collections, but it's a strong reminder to me of what the new show has done for these characters. Not only does this box of 3 identical figures highlight how much personality the boys got in the reboot, it underlines how the original show thought of Webby. A modern version of this collection wouldn't have been just the boys, it would have been the kids, including Huey, Dewey, Louie, and Webby. And I'm already kind of missing that retro Vanderquack kid in this set. But what are you gonna do? If you want a deeper analysis of these DuckTales toys and you want to see more pictures, go check out the folks at DuckTalks. They run a DuckTales podcast and blog and kind of have this whole little community that follows the show just as fervently and passionately as I do. And in fact, a lot of the updates I get about the show when I'm busy at work or going about my day, I see on their Twitter feed. They're really fun guys, really nice, kind of a great resource for fans. In fact, they're going to have an upcoming episode, I think it's episode 61, where they specifically talk about these toys. I'll have some links in the description below if you want to check that out, or just go on over to their website for yourself. As for the rest of it, well, that's kind of all the DuckTales news that I have right now. There's just not that much of it. The show's been on a bit of a hiatus since they aired the holiday episode way back in December. And though we know a new episode is coming in early March, and hopefully more after that, that's kind of all we got. But thanks for sticking with me in the meantime. It's good to be back on YouTube and talking about the show and getting excited for it again. And in the meantime, I've thrown up a couple of other videos, talked about a video game I'm interested in recently, and there'll be more stuff like that to come soon. But as always, thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for watching, and like I say every time, take it easy, Internet.